Hey, welcome to Sports and Politics with T. I'm your host, Tanya, and tonight we have made it back to Monday, you guys. Listen, happy Memorial Day to everyone. I hope everybody's enjoying this extra day if you're off. And I know everybody's enjoying their family and friends. I have been off, Saturday, Sunday, and today. So it's a great 3-day weekend for me. However, it is a little bit rainy today, but that's okay because I am home and I'm just glad to be off. So anyway, I just wanted to say again, happy Memorial Day to everyone. And listen, we've got a great show tonight. We're going to be talking about some things that's transpired over the last week. Donald Trump decided to meet up with the president from South Africa. And let's just say there's some controversy about white genocide going on in that country, which is proven to be false. But we're going to tackle that as soon as this segment gets started. Also, we're going to talk about Derek Chauvin. Yes, the guy that killed George Floyd. This has been 5 years ago. There has been some talks about him being released from prison. Now, this is going to be an uproar, okay? And like I said, Donald Trump is thinking about pardoning him out of prison. So this is going to get really ugly, but we're going to tackle that on the second half of this show, just to let you know what people are thinking and what people are deciding to do if this takes place, because we all know what happens when there's an uproar. You're going to see more violence, hopefully not, but you're going to see an uproar and an uptick typically when things like that happen. But anyway, again, happy Memorial Day to everyone. And also anybody who's lost loved ones. Again, this is a good day, but it's also a day of memory for all the soldiers that have lost their lives, who is no longer with us. So my hats go out to everyone as far as their families. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to talk about, this is on the Roland Martin show. He's going to talk about the white supposedly genocide, how Trump went over and talked to the president. And let's just say this was very controversial. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll tackle this as soon as this segment is over, and I'll let you know what I feel about this whole situation.
Particular country. And so Donald Trump has been touting the, quote, genocide against white farmers in South Africa, welcoming 59 Afrikaners, white folks, to the country. Now, mind you, these are the same people who stole the land in South Africa. White people in South Africa make up 7% of the population. They own 72% of the land. So Donald Trump has been floating these lies. Today, the president of South Africa came to the Oval Office to sit across from that white nationalist, that white supremacist. And this man, this dignified black man, had to listen to this idiot, the one who called African shithole countries, who called countries in Africa shithole countries, who trashed and lied about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, who called for the death penalty of the 5 black and brown young men, then called the Central Park 5, now known as Exonerated 5. The same man who was accused by HUD of not renting apartments to black people. Yeah, that same person who barely has any black people in his administration. Yeah, that same one. He had to listen to this pathetic ass man lie about what's happening in his country, South Africa, because Donald Trump has no problem standing with racists and white supremacists because his administration is filled with them, people like Stephen Miller and others. Listen to this trash that happened today.
How much should good car insurance cost you a month? $80? $120? Nope. Try $38 a month.
We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions. They come from street gangs. They're drug dealers. So don't say that we didn't take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case. We're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally, we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up. Yeah. Please.
Yeah,
Brian?
thank you very much. I'd like to get your thoughts on Letitia James. Director Polte, according to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false attacks they had on you.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know that it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. Yeah, I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father, and she put it down, and she had didn't she sign in Virginia, yet she said she lived in Virginia, yet she's the New York State Attorney General, and she did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes.
Okay, let me interject for a second. Okay, first of all, this is supposed to be a meeting about South Africa, okay? But we're talking about a black judge and her mistake on some application for a mortgage. Like, what? Where did this? How did we jump ship from? Because the guy, you can see in the on the end, he's the president for South Africa. He's probably thinking like, okay, why are we talking about this? I'm here to talk about my country. So I'm just, do you see how the media always want to frame us as black people? Letitia James, who's a black judge and lawyer, of course. I guess something happened where she made a mistake, but of course, if she makes a mistake, they want to publicize that in the White House. However, Trump has been found guilty of 39 felonies, and for some reason, we don't really care about that part. But he's the president of the United States, So, anyway, let's just keep going. I just had to interject for a second because I'm thinking, well, what does this got to do with South Africa white genocide? But anyway, let's go. Let's keep going.
And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it. But I appreciate the question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. President, for you to be convinced that there's no genocide.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So May 25th will be the celebration of Africa Day, which pretty much a lot of celebration will be taking place around the world, including here in the United States. What is your message to the entire African continent, African people, in this important occasion?
Well, I want to see peace, and I want to see happiness. I want to see health, and you have incredible land. There's tremendous value. A lot of countries don't have that value in the land, the value you have. You know, we have a situation, I think you probably heard about it. We've done, through some very talented people, helped settle a war that's been raging for years, Rwanda and the Congo. And I think we've done it. Believe it or not, I think we've done it. And could you just say a few words about that, my friend?
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, the two parties signed a declaration of principles in which they've agreed on the way forward. And they have both submitted draft peace agreements, and we have put together one that incorporates both of their suggestions, and we've given it to them. So we're in the process of finalizing this.
Looking good, right?
Looking very good.
We have to thank you for even those efforts, because the African continent, particularly SADC, our Southern African Development Community, has for years been seeking to foster peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So all efforts, including those from outside the continent and inside the continent, are really worthwhile. We are removing our troops from there so that peace can then prevail in that whole area. And we hope that with the support of the international community, we will really have peace in that area. It's so vital, it's so important for the whole region.
Well, we sent our people there, and I think we did a very good job. I sat in by my friend, and that was great. That was great. I mean, I'm just hearing phenomenal reports, because all I'm hearing is death, and they're chopping heads off, and it's horrible over there. And
let me say something again. Do you see how they want to paint us as just, you know, like we're just beasts, we're animals, you know, there is no civility over in South Africa. And see, this is the thing. The claim is there's a lot of white farmers that are getting murdered over in South Africa, but it's a very, very small percentage, which is still bad. You don't want anybody to be murdered for nothing, of course. But they're not talking about the black farmers that's getting murdered over there either. So my thing is why are you focusing on just the white genocide? Shouldn't all genocide be bad, no matter what race it is? And see, this is how you know there's some racism there, because he's only wanting to focus on the white people that are being targeted. So it's just crazy, but we'll keep going.
Oh, before you leave, can you turn that document into a PDF for me? Thanks.
At 5.
it was really brave of you.
Policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
take land. And then when they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
nothing happens to them.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now
the farmers are black. The farmers are not black. I don't say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed. Their heads chopped off. They died violently. And, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here. But I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake, like NBC, which is fake news, totally one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this, why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay? The United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out, because we need an Air Force One until that's Air Force One is being built. 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about.
Okay, you see how he diverted over to a whole nother subject? You talking about airplanes and, you know, let's stick to the subject, okay? Like this guy said, let's get back to the issue at hand. Because he's not going to be persuaded either way. So, I mean, this is it's a shame that this is where we've come to as a country, that, you know, he wants to make it seem like all these white people are getting killed in South Africa. And that guy, the president of South Africa, just said it's majority black people. He said, well, it's not. What about the white farmers? See, he's only caring about the white. He doesn't care about what happens to black people as far as us, you know. So, you know, this whole meeting was it's crazy. So I just, but you know, I'm not even surprised because this is just how he operates, you know, so.
It looked like it just ended. Cue that up so I can take some of that. I didn't know where someone told me that they were actually live. So it looks like the feed just ended. But the thing for me, Larry, it was shameful, and you know what he wanted to say. There were stories that were reported where he talked about what he was going to say, but he knew in that moment. And all these people talk about, oh, he was ambushed and he didn't know. No, he knew what he was walking into. He did. Hell, I said last night to Jahan LeBlanc what was going to happen. So we knew what was going to happen. But he had to remain calm and dignified when sitting across from an absolute idiot.
You know, Roland, you know, we often think about, you know, world leaders and people in positions of power. There are times in which you have to bite your tongue. And to, you know, in this case, he certainly spent, you know, most of his time in the White House doing just that, because he knows he has the lives of millions of South Africans in his hand. And you know, you're right, Roland, in terms of someone who had to live under, you know, apartheid, de jure segregation, to endure what he had to endure today in the White House. And I want to go back to a point you made earlier about Ronald Reagan. We have to remember there was the CDC and people like Randall Robinson and others that helped end apartheid in South Africa and also helped free Nelson Mandela. And years later, you know, post Obama and Biden, et cetera, we now, you know, in terms of Americans, have to be exposed to a lot of really crazy conspiracy theories. And listen, the United States has the most complete, you know, apparatus in the world as it creates in terms of collecting data and information. And he's printing out stuff from, like, you know, off the internet. He's got copies, printouts in his hand. Well, once again, he has access to all kinds of information about what's going on in every country in the world. And this speaks to this idea of, like, the difference between what, you know, a society moving forward, a multiracial, multi-ethnic society moving forward, and what we saw today in the White House, which is also reinforces the idea that people of African descent aren't seen as human, that we're seen as less than. When you are talking about white Afrikaners, and we know there were a few dozen that came to the United States just a week or two ago, and not talking about the fact that that land was taken from, you know, black South Afrikaners. And then once again, that land is still owned post-apartheid. That land is still owned by white Afrikaners. And so once again, the power dynamic in terms of land ownership, which we know in any country is the primary thing which is primarily important, is still unbalanced. And once again, you have the president of South Africa being forced and humiliated in many respects to listen to a lot of these conspiracy theories, which have been disproven, and forced to kind of endure that. And once again, as you said, as a black man who had to endure apartheid and who has risen to this position of power to be forced.
Yeah, and I hate to stop it right here, but I just wanted to just say one more thing about this. It's shameful because that guy, you could tell he wanted to say something so bad, but Trump has a tendency, even when Zelensky visited him, it was the same thing. He wants to try to embarrass these leaders coming into the White House to make him feel like he's the man. You know, anytime you see someone put down someone to boost themselves up, that's a bully. Okay, we've seen this time and time again. He doesn't care about the Black community. Hopefully people will wake up on and see through all of this. You know, again, they're telling lies about this white genocide. All these white farmers are getting killed in South Africa. And like I said, there probably are some that have been killed, but majority, and like that president was saying, South Africa said, is from Black people. But you don't hear no outrage about that. And that's the thing. If he said all genocide, I can get down with that. I can say, okay, yeah, that's wrong, no matter what color. But he's just specifically going after the white people that are being killed. So it's crazy. It is really, really crazy. But anyway, let's go ahead and go on to the next subject at hand. We're going to talk about Derek Chauvin. This is the guy that pretty much murdered George Floyd on national TV during COVID. We all remember that day when this police officer decided to kneel on George Floyd's neck for a little over 9 minutes on the pavement. We're going to listen in on Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. He's going to tell you about what's going on and what people are preparing for if this man gets out. Oh, yes. That's another thing. Trump is looking at pardoning him. This guy right here, which we saw it with our own eyes. We saw it on camera. Somebody being murdered right on TV. So let's listen in on this subject, and then we're going to dissect how I feel about this whole situation.
Donald Trump may pardon convicted murderer Officer Chauvin. Put it up for a mask. So the cop who killed a person while being watched and recorded is possibly receiving a pardon. So here's an update. We brought you this story when the insanity started to call for Trump to do this. The police chief has said they are prepared for public outcry if Chauvin is pardoned. So rumors are now circulating Trump could potentially pardon Derek Chauvin. If those rumors are true, Minneapolis Police Department, well, they're ready for a showdown. Chauvin is serving consecutive state and federal sentences for kneeling and killing. This is George Floyd. He kneeled on the man's neck for more than 9 minutes. Chauvin is currently serving a 21-year federal sentence for violating Floyd's civil rights. He also has a 22.5-year sentence for murder. That part is important. The 49-year-old was convicted of unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. He later pleaded guilty to depriving Floyd of his rights in the federal civil rights case. Now, here's the irony. He pled guilty of the federal charge. He's duly convicted under the state statute as well. Some people ask, why would you waste the court's time and taxpayer money to duly convict a man? Well, this is a case study for why. There's more. I put it up. Minnesota. Let's talk about it. The officials in Minnesota, they have responded to the rumors that a pardon could be on its way. Attorney General Keith Ellison, former congressman, not happy about the news. Quote, he still owes Minnesota 22.5 years. And he's going to do it either in Minnesota or somewhere, but he's not getting out, end quote. So let's go to the Minnesota police chief. This is Chief Brian O'Hara. He's now saying that the city and the state should be prepared in case a pardon happens. Quote, I was in D.C. last week, and I've literally had police chiefs from around the country ask me that question. I tell you what, I've told them, there is absolutely no credible information we have to suggest that's going to happen, end quote. Another quote, of course, because there's all these rumors, we've been in communication with our partners at the state, at the federal level, to ensure that we and all of our partners are prepared in the event something like this happens.
And see, let me say this too. Listen, y'all remember back in 2020 when this happened, how police precincts and buildings and just different areas of every area of different cities were getting burned. People were going ballistic, over this. So I'm just letting you know right off. And, if this man gets released, this might be a repeat of 2020. I mean, I'm just keeping it real because, you got to serve the time. I mean, it's not like we didn't see this. And my thing is why would a president, well, we know what the real reason why is, but why would a president who's sane release someone who murdered someone right on national TV? What would cause you to want to pardon this guy? And if that's the case, does that mean that everybody now gets a second chance? Why this particular man gets a second chance? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, anyway, y'all know I get riled up already. I can't help it. Let's just keep going with the video, and then I'll let you know how I feel about this.
And it causes some type of civil disturbance. To be clear, there is no credible information that something like that will happen. Now, typically police departments do not engage in such coordination for mere rumors. So while he's saying to the public, no credible information, it is a rumor. However, they are treating it as an official investigation, coordinating multiple agencies, state, local. Well, go back to the origin again. The Trumpites, some with many followers, decided to make this petition to call on the pardon of Chauvin by way of Trump. We've talked about this since the beginning. It's a show. Number one, a federal pardon does not free the murderer, Chauvin, at all, because the pardon would not address the state conviction. So it's for show. It doesn't actually get anything done. Number two, if they actually cared and believed authentically that somehow Chauvin got a bad conviction, even though it was based on the Constitution, he was able to confront his accusers, sit in the defendant chair, which is constitutionally mandated. A jury of his peers judged him, weighed the evidence in doing so. Every right intact. He took somebody's right away. His remained. Now, if you believe he got a bad conviction, why are they not calling for the equal pardon of the other cops who were convicted, who watched Chauvin kill a human being?
The president has been asked and answered this question. He said it's not something he's considering at this time.
Not something he's considering at this time. Okay? Remember, this comes from the same man who said he was not going to pardon the J6 terrorist. And then he said he may look into it. He will pardon some, but they will not be the violent ones. And then he pardoned them all. There you go. All right, Jackson.
Well, and there you go. I mean, we've seen history where he has let people, out that were serving time. So it's not far-fetched to think that this is a possibility. He's saying right now he's not thinking about it. but he's not saying that he's not going to not do it either, so this is a shame. This is really, really terrible. I'm telling you, we already seen the outcry. We saw the violence take place. We saw that civil unrest, buildings getting burned, cars getting bombed, people looting and going in stores and robbing. And it was just a whole chaotic scene. And so, like I said, if this man gets released, I'm just letting you know this is not going to be good. So, anyway, guys, I just wanted to kind of touch on this because we're going to keep our ears and eyes open as far as what's going on in the political game. Okay, so, but just wanted to kind of give a brief little segment on both of those subjects for tonight. And listen, I would love for y'all to comment and let me know how you feel as well, because sometimes it's good to get some understanding of people's point of view and what they think about all of this, so anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Listen, again, happy Memorial Day for everyone, and I hope, again, everybody's enjoyed their day off, if you had that day off. And also, if you enjoyed this content, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you can, please hit the notification bell. That will let you know every time I come on to YouTube. You won't miss any episodes, okay? All right, so I'm going to be back on Thursday night, and we're going to still cover some things as far as the political arena. We're also going to kind of dive a little bit more into some new findings on the P. Diddy trial, because there's some things that are circulating more and more that I feel like we do need to touch up on and kind of put our eye on this particular subject. So, but again, 8 o'clock on Thursday, I will be back. And again, I hope everybody enjoyed the rest of your holiday and day. And I will see everybody on Thursday at 8 p.m. All right, guys. So everybody take care. See you on Thursday and have a great night. Bye-bye.